In this video, we're going to be breaking out the crayons and the construction paper, and figuratively speaking anyway, because we're going to be using Photoshop to create our custom background image for our Twitter page. Now, don't worry if making your own background image just isn't your cup of tea. Don't sweat it, because we're also going to show you where you can go to get some already made background images. Easy peasy. And as you can see, I've made a few changes to our Twitter page since the last time we met. And I went ahead and created a custom background image, and I changed some of the elements of our Twitter page, such as the color to our sidebar, the sidebar border, and there's a few other changes that we can make, and I'll go over those here in just a little bit. But before we jump into me showing you the Photoshop method of creating our custom background image, I wanted to point out a couple of tools that I find pretty indispensable from time to time when messing with my graphics. And that's these two guys down here. These are add-ons for the Firefox browser. And if you are familiar with Firefox or use Firefox as your browser, then these are just add-ons. This one is called Measure It, and this one is called Colorzilla. And you can just do a search by going into your tools, going to add-ons, go to Get Add-ons, and do a search for Colorzilla. This guy here, and then the other one is Measure It, this guy here. And pretty much just real quick, like what they do is Colorzilla is an eyedropper tool that provides you with, down here at the status bar, provides you with the RGB, and the hexadecimal code for the color of your choosing. Or why is this needed? Well, in the event, for example, with our custom background image that we're going to be making for our Twitter page, let's say that you have a brand that you've established color scheme wise with all of your blogs and all of your web pages or websites, and they all have a similar color scheme. Well, this is one way in which you can match those to the letter by simply, if you do not know the hexadecimal or the RGB code of that particular color scheme, well, if you use your Firefox web browser to open up your web page or blogs in, and if you have this Colorzilla installed, then you can just click on this and then find your hexadecimal or RGB color code by just hovering over or clicking on that particular element on your web page or blog. And then you can just transfer that information over to your Photoshop, and I'll show you that here in just a second whenever you go to decide on what color scheme you want for your background image. Now mine is pretty plain as far as the actual color of my background image. It's white. That's the background of my background image, and you can see that it blends in seamlessly with the Twitter page and the color over here that I've allotted. But this is a color that you cannot change, and that's the background color of your actual Twitter page. As you can see, I'm scrolling up here. Now the sidebar here, you can change the color of it. You cannot, however, change, as the time of this recording, you cannot change the color of your background of your Twitter page. Hopefully that made sense. The background image behind your Twitter page, yes, you can. That's what we're going to be talking about in this video. For those of you that are not, well, yeah, one other thing too, the Measure It. You just click on that, and you can get measurements off to the side here very quickly of certain elements that you want the size of, certain images, for example. And that's how easy that is. You just click on this again, and it disengages it. Now, for those of you that do not want to or do not have the time to mess with creating your own detailed, from scratch, custom background image for your Twitter page, head on over to twitterbacks.com, and a lot of the work's already been done for you. Matter of fact, they give you specs. If you click on here, it'll give you certain specs of the images you will need. Here are some templates, or actually, these are the finished products of the templates. These are the templates here, the bare bones, if you will. And they'll tell you where to add your photo, where to put your name. Just replace this information with your Facebook address, your email address, all kinds of cool information here if you want it. You don't have to have any of it. These are just templates that can be added to, changed, or deleted from. And they give you the PSD files here, where you can simply download these to your desktop, open them up in the GIMP, which is a Photoshop clone, only without the $700 or $800 price tag. It's free, it's open source. Or you can also open it up in your Photoshop software. And that's what we're going to be doing in this video, is working with Photoshop. And then, of course, from these templates, you can have these works of art here. Now, one thing I want to point out, though, is that up here at the top, because one thing that does not change, because if you remember, as we scroll our page, right here at the top, everything above this is going to be covered with our Twitter page and sidebar right here. So you don't want to put you don't want to put your picture right in here. You don't want to put your name right up the top here, because it can easily be covered. You can see these here do not have any of that in there. That's because as soon as you scroll up your page, it's going to be covered with your Twitter page here. Okay, so keep that in mind while you're doing your design. Like this guy here, that looks pretty cool, but the Captain America shield right here is going to be covered up as soon as they scroll their page up. So again, keep that thought in mind. So if we scroll on back up here, click on the specs, this gives you some more details that you can go by if you're going to be creating yours from scratch, which is what we are about to do now. Now, one of the things I want to pay attention to here are these dimensions, 2048 by 1707. So whenever I go to my Photoshop software, go up here to File, New, 2048. Well, you would have thought I've already done this. And 1707. Now the resolution, 72 is fine. You definitely don't want any more than that. You could probably get away with less than that. 8, 10, 20, 30, but 72 is fine. It'll load just as quick. And that's the main key there. And of course, the rest of this, you want to duplicate this info. You don't want to go with grayscale. Maybe you do. I don't know. But I'm going with RGB. And then click on OK. Now this comes up at 12.5%. I'm going to go ahead and make this 50% for the time being. Squeeze this out as much as possible. Now then, a lot of these guys here I'm not going to be needing right now. Leastways, I won't need it for the video. But the navigator just tells you where at on the palette or work spot that I'm at. And so I don't need that guy. Color, swatches, styles, a lot of neato tools, but I don't need them for now. History might come in handy since I am prone to make a lot of mistakes. History allows me to go back and delete my last screw up so that I can kind of start fresh. Boy, if only I had that ability in real life. I'm not even going to go there. Anyway, you can also do the same thing if you hit Control Z as in zebra on your keyboard. A lot of times that'll work fine. And so I can get rid of this guy. The one thing I do want to leave on here is the layers dialog or palette, whatever you want to call it. And this way I can kind of show you as we're going along here some of the elements that we are creating and why I'm doing this and not that, if that made any sense. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and create our text. And the font doesn't really matter. I'm going to leave it with impact for simplicity's sake. And the size of my font, that's fine and dandy. The color, I might want to change it other than white, because right now that would make it kind of invisible. So it doesn't really matter at this point because I'm going to be changing that as well. So I'm going to go with red. Very easily seen. And we want to go with... Now, I'm not going to put the com on here. I'm going to have the com of the hotpepperpicker.com. I'm going to have that as a second element, and that way I can invert it from horizontal to vertical, just as it was in the image you saw on that page. So go ahead and hit enter, and then click again. And as I'm clicking, I'm creating a new layer here. You can do the same thing if you were to click on the layer, the new layer button down here. But anyway, this is just how I do it. And COM. Enter. Now I want to invert this COM to up and down. Now you can do the same thing by warping your text, and there's other tools and abilities to do that as well, but I'm going to go with this. Oh yeah, if you right here, you can what I do is I right clicked on the text tool, and you can do the same thing here, only what this does is it has COM instead of inverting it. Well, for example, like this. And that's not what I want. I want this style only to the side, just as you saw it earlier. So let me get rid of this guy. Delete. Okay, now we want our move tool. And with this one selected, off to the right corner here, once you get the bent arrows, left click on your mouse and then just rotate. And you can see up here, this one here, as it changes, I'm just going to highlight it when I get close to where I want. Highlight that, type in 90, enter, and we're good. Now for aesthetic reasons, I want this to be the same size, the same height as the rest of our domain name here. So to do so and to maintain the aspect ratio so this doesn't look all scrunched up, I go over here and on the corner with the arrows being in a corner like that, at an angle, left click on my mouse, hold it, hold the shift key down, and then drag this down. So what I'm looking for is the bottom of this to be level with the bottom of these, and the top of this to be level with the top of the text here. And since this might be a little bit difficult to move with the move tool and your mouse, you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard. Accomplish the same thing. Hit enter, and I probably want to move it a little bit further towards there. That looks good. That looks really good. Okay, so now then what I want to do is I want to apply some layer styles. I want to apply some stroke and a drop shadow to this, and you can do that with the selected area here. Come on over here to your layer styles, click on that, click on stroke, click on the color, and I want black, and I want to knock this back to a number 2. And while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and put a drop shadow in there, and the default 505 is fine for me. You can play around with this as much as you want, but for the sake of this video, I'm not. And on your own time, you're more than welcome to. So that's fine. Now then, what I want to do is I want to make this, I want to make the COM look exactly the same here. I want the elements from here to be over here. Quite simple. You right click, copy layer style, right click, paste layer style. Bada bing, bada boom. Good to go. Now then, what we want to do is, oh darn it, I did it again. You don't know how many times I've done this. This COM is actually upside down. Let me show you what I mean. What I want to do is I want to select both of these so I can invert this into a vertical position instead of the current horizontal. So with one of these selected, hold my control key down and click on the other one. And again, I get the bent arrow over here. Left click, hold, and drag. And again, repeat the process up here. Type in the 90, and we're good. Hit enter. That deselects this. Now you see how the COM is upside down? That's not going to work for me. So with the COM selected, with only the COM selected, come on up here to Edit, Transform, Rotate 180. There we are. We're fine and dandy. Now what we want to do is we want to select both of these again, hold the control key down, both of these are selected. Let's move them into position where we're going to want them to end up at. And this is the top corner. And if you're not sure, you can use this over here, the navigator screen, to see where we're at. Of course, I don't know about you, but I'm fine without the navigator screen. But I've got a couple other elements that I want to put in up here, those peppers, those jalapeno peppers. So let's go ahead and bring them onto the screen. But as far as the distance from the left border, that's about fine. And I've got room up here for the pepper up top and the pepper down at the bottom. So now then we can just deselect these guys here. Let's add another layer. Let's go ahead and bring in that pepper. And I've already done some work on it, so I want to, what I did was, originally whenever I received this, it had a white background, not the transparent that is there currently. And I just deleted the white background, leaving the pepper all on its own. So now that I'm just going to, with the move tool selected, click, hold, and drag. That's one way. You can also, from the layers box, click, hold, and drag. Now I want to add some goodies here, and just to show you, there's no background. All you're seeing covering the text there is the pepper itself. And before, all this here would be white, and that would also be covering the text. It just doesn't look right. So now I want to apply, oh wait, I want this to be above the COM. Okay, so these guys are all cool. So now I want to apply some layer styling to the pepper. I want to put a stroke and a drop shadow there. So let's go ahead and repeat the process we did with our text. Actually, I want the red stroke there. Give it that hot look. Yeah, but 3 is a bit much. I want to go 2. 2 is good. And let's also add a drop shadow. And again, that's fine and dandy, just the way the default, 505. Now then, I want to shrink this down because it's a little bit oversized for what we're working with here. And repeat the process as we did with the COM. Find the corner, left hold, and hold your shift key down, and then drag it inward, and this maintains the aspect ratio. That looks about like a good size. Now I want to change the angle here a bit, hit enter, and we're good. Now that I want one at the top and one at the bottom. So with the move tool selected, put your mouse in here and you got the black arrow, hold your control and alt key down, and you can see there's two, hold it just right, there's two arrows in there, a white and a black. Left click, hold, and drag. Now you've got two identical peppers. And we'll just move this guy over to the bottom here. And move this guy to the top here. And we're just about done, except, let's take another look here. What do we got? To move this back out. We have our gradient here. Now, one reason why I didn't add that before when it was in its horizontal state was because whenever we change it from horizontal to the current vertical, the gradient would not move with it. The gradient would still remain in a horizontal state. In other words, well, let me just show you what I'm talking about. To get this, we had to do the gradient after we get the text in the direction that we wanted it. There, that's good enough. You'll see what I'm talking about. And once you get to doing it yourself, you'll know what I'm talking about. So now then, we want to add a gradient overlay to our text, because if you just go here and add a gradient, you're not going to add it to your text, you're going to add it to the entire page here. And that's not what you want. Trust me, been there, done that. So now then, what we want to do is go to our text here. And click these bad boys. We'll just do this one here. And again, we can do the same thing as we did before. Once we add that element, because that's what this is a layer style, then we'll just copy that layer style over to our COM part here, and all will be right with the world. So click on our layer styles, gradient overlay. See how it changed already? And right now it's set up for the same way that it would have been had we had these guys horizontal, because that's a 90 degree. We want it to be at 0. That's how it is now, where the dark is at the far left and the light is at the far right. Now the dark, we want it to be red-ish, and the light, we want it to be more of an orange color. Maybe a little more orange. Just like that. Hit OK. Hit OK. And again, too, this might be a good spot. If you go back here, click on this. If you click on this, you see here, these are the hexadecimal numbers or characters I was referring to earlier. If you wanted to match these exactly to your existing blog or web page, that ColorZilla eyedropper tool from the Firefox add-on, that tool will come in greatly, very handy at this. Anyway, that's one of the reasons for that. Okay, so we're good to go here, and we're good here. We got that set at 0 instead of the default 90. So all is right. Now we just want to open this up. Come on down to the gradient overlay, right click, and where are we at here? Copy layer style, and then right click. Hang on, let me move this. Come on down here. Right click and paste layer style. As you can see, it was seamlessly entered right there. And that, folks, is our background image. Now be sure and save this as a JPEG, a GIF, or a PNG. And you want to make sure that it is 800 kilobytes or smaller in size. So once that's done, and then in the next video we're going to go ahead and cover uploading this, installing your custom background image, as well as tweaking and changing some of the other detailed elements about your Twitter page. The text color, the sidebar color, the border color, items that I'd mentioned earlier. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.